Hey everybody, welcome to episode 50, part 2, predicting our WrestleMania Night 2 predictions. I guess I'm Jose Tabuada, RJ Stacy, Nick Charlick, Pete Atkinson, Alex Mirza. We're going to pick up right back where we left off, and away we go with the next match. Riddle versus Sheamus, the United States Championship. Riddle became US champ at, Elimination Chamber? Right, it was Elimination Chamber, and I will once again I'll say this, as I've said in the last year: Riddle's overrated. Riddle is trash. Riddle has no business being the United States champion, and I really could not give a damn about this individual on the WWE roster. If he's released, I'm not going to complain, but he is currently the United States champion. Sheamus had the crazy feud with Drew McIntyre, all of a sudden got shoved onto this out of nowhere. And of course, I think this all properly started when Sheamus turned face and hit Riddle with the scooter in the stomach, or nearly breaking the scooter in the process. So it is, again, there's not much to say. I really want the title off Riddle, so I'm going to pick Sheamus to open up our night 2 predictions. And RJ, we'll go to you.
So I also used to really hate Riddle, but I kind of like him now, and I kind of hate to say that. Okay. Okay. I'm going with Riddle to win this because I think that WWE likes him even more. But I think he's put on some decent matches on TV the last few weeks that he's been on Raw. I think that he's kind of funny in his backstage segments. So I'm going with Riddle. I think that he's kind of the guy that WWE wants. And I think that they're just putting Sheamus in this match as kind of like a solid opponent for him to go over. So I think Riddle's going to win this match no matter what anybody, you guys think about him. I think he's winning regardless.
See, okay, but before we go on to Nick, I mean, like, obviously I am exaggerating. And to be honest, I think one of the reasons why I can't stand Riddle is I think it's because of the character, and I want to try to give this guy more importance and because I know a lot of people say he's amazing in the ring, right? It's just hard for me to see what the kind of character that he is. I feel like I would take his in-ring work a little bit more seriously if I saw him as a completely different character, because he looks like a guy that should not be this whole always high kind of jokey kind of way. I don't know. It just doesn't work, which then ties into the end work, and I just can't see it. Nick.
Yeah, I think the problem with Riddle's character is that he's basically a stoner in the WWE world, where they can't really acknowledge that weed is a thing because it's a kids program, and he's a complete dweeb. I think I've said it for NXT. I think he's better as a heel because he's just an annoying idiot. I'm going to go with Riddle to win because I think WWE do really like him. He's featured a lot on TV. They're going to have a fantastic match. I think Sheamus over the last 6 months has been one of the most underrated wrestlers on the roster. He's not always had a bad match. He's been fantastic. I want Sheamus to kick his face off, but I just don't see it happening. And I think Riddle's going to retain.
Pete.
Yeah, so the problem with Riddle's character is he's just a dick. No, that's all it is. No, there's no reason for me to like this guy. And apparently I'm meant to like this guy, and I don't see why. And I agree with Jose entirely in that I really just do not want to see him with this title anymore. I think Sheamus has put in such a hell of a run, as Nick said, for the last few months, that he deserves this title. But when Riddle botched that promo on Raw with Asuka and made an absolute shambles of it, Vince apparently loved it. And that's all I need to hear to know Vince loved that, and we are going to see more of that almost being forced in the future, of trying to repeat that same type of stuff, which means they're not going to take the belt off him. They're going to give him more awkward promos where he just scooters away from people and forgets his lines because he's a stoner, but we can't say it, as you said. So yeah, I'm sticking with Riddle because Vince loved his botched, terrible promo.
I have to say, before we go on to Lex, I mean, I hate that it worked for a guy like Riddle. Only he can pull that off, where like you can forget your lines and botch on TV. And mind you, I'm pretty sure that was taped because WWE has begun the transition to go to their next destination for the Thunderdome, and they kept it. And they freaking kept it.
Yeah, Vince loved it.
So I
Vince
mean, like,
loved it.
It's probably funnier than what they actually had planned.
Probably, right?
Asuka was just corpsing in the background.
Yeah.
So, I've got to ask, what's this weird thing that he does with the birds flying out now? Where does that come from on his entrance?
Everyone's talking about that too.
What is that?
It's probably within the weed that he smokes that he sees the birds. I don't know.
Is that what Vince thinks happens when you smoke
Also,
weed?
Why not?
Does anybody understand his finisher's name is what, the Bro Derek? Is there a pun there? Like,
It's
what is that?
Derek?
I have no idea.
I think was it you, RJ?
Oh,
That's,
Derek,
I think you.
Doesn't he have like a friend named Derek and named it after him or something like
I know
that?
I thought isn't Bo Derek a film actress, like an actual
Yeah, she is.
like Hollywood person?
She.
Oh,
Maybe.
maybe.
It's
I
got
don't know.
Willow and
I
Derek.
assumed it
Willow
was
and
just
Derek.
a pun on Bo Derek, the actress.
Sure.
It's okay. Reddit tells me it's a reference to an actress from the 80s named Bo Derek.
That's what we just said. There you
That's
go.
literally
Yeah.
what I did.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Lex, let's go with you on the pick.
Okay, well, I'm probably the only one in this room who doesn't hate Riddle, I guess. Or, I guess besides RJ, but like I thought he was great in NXT, but I think, it didn't really come as a surprise to me that, in NXT he did have like a more of a comedic kind of goofy side to him, but he was still able to rock it in the ring and everything and be serious when he had to be. And like it wasn't that surprising to me that when he came to WWE, when he came to Raw, they take that one aspect of him and just accentuate that aspect more than anything else. But I mean, in my opinion, he's still been having, fantastic TV matches. And I think, with the quality of matches he's been having, I'm happy to see him with the US title. And Sheamus has been great too. He was someone that people wrote off for a long time, but like he's having these great matches with, Lashley and Sheamus and Riddle and and Ali and other people, and Riddle with Ali, but still. I can't say anything really but too bad about either of those guys. But I think, given the direction that they're going, with Riddle's character and everything, I think I'm sure they'll have a great match, but I think Riddle's going to retain. Because he's the guy I guess they want to go with, even though he's a bit of a goof, to put it lightly.
All right, well, Wolf and I go different on everybody else picking Sheamus. Let's move on to the next match, which again, this match should have had. I mean, the common theme so far is a build for each of these matches, but if there's one match I think out of all of them that I really, really wanted a good build, it's this one. It's Kevin Owens. It's Sami Zayn meeting once again. They've had some incredible matches, not only within WWE, but within their indies. They have a long history together, both Canadian, both the best of friends. And unfortunately, this was built up within the last, I'm not even exaggerating, I'm pretty sure the last 2 weeks. And now all of a sudden we have Logan Paul by his side. It is Logan, right? Because I know there's two of them, both idiots.
Sure.
But it's Logan Paul that is going to accompany Sami Zayn to the ring this Sunday because of Sami Zayn's conspiracy theory and all that. And of course, everybody's worry is, will they have a solid match, or will Sami Zayn walk around, jump up and down like an idiot and avoid having a good match? If you have a match that screams weekend show stealer or weekend dark horse, it's this one. But without Sami Zayn's been booked, without Sami Zayn's been in the ring in the last half year, there's genuine concern if this is going to be actually good or not, and it should be. But again, we'll find out this Sunday. I'm gonna agree with Wolf again, and I'm gonna say Kevin Owens, because I like Sami Zayn has always been booked as that annoying heel that you have to beat, and WrestleMania is always a great time for heels to be beaten down because you always love that good old face story. I'm gonna go Kevin Owens, but again, this is a match. I think this is the match that out of all of them, the most that I'm pissed off about in terms of build, because again, the potential with these two, they can perform, they can put on a solid match in the ring, and we'll see what happens this Sunday. Lex.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, it's a story that writes itself. It happened all over the indies. It happened in NXT. It happened in WWE. It's the easiest thing to do, just to put these guys in a feud, their history betraying each other, and just, it should be easy, but it's WWE, so they have to, have it all be sports entertainment-y and goofy, and bring in celebrities and whatever else you got to do. The Paul brothers as a whole are pretty divisive figures, I guess, just to put it lightly, around the internet community.
Yeah, that's light. Yeah, that's light. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like you, and I'm sure everyone else here. I hope that they're able to kind of take the chains off of Sami and let him actually have a great the kind of match that we all know he's capable of having. I don't think it'll be. It could end up being another him and Daniel Bryan at last year's Mania, where it was just him running away and Cesaro with Shinsuke and Nakamura getting involved and whatever all that was. But and we know Logan Paul is going to be part of the match somehow. I assume turning on Sami at some point. So I'm going to go with Kevin Owens as well. Just the way they've been presented individually, I think that's definitely the way it's going. Fingers crossed they're able to have a great match. And I guess you could say having Logan Paul in there, brings more eyes to the match itself, to the guys. But at some point you have to wonder, do the ends really justify the means? So we'll see what happens. But either way, I'm going Kevin Owens.
And that's a sad thing too. I mean, like with the inclusions of like Bad Bunny, with the inclusions of Logan Paul, this is I'm pretty sure eyes will turn. How many eyes will turn? We'll find out this Sunday. Pete.
Yeah, this should be a great match, but I just have no faith that it's going to be, because I don't think they're going to be allowed to. Because Sami Zayn has had like one good match in the last 18 months because he's not allowed to wrestle anymore. It's not his fault. There's so much history there. These two will want to steal the show. I don't even mind Sami Zayn's character. Just, you have the best technical wrestler in WWE and you told him to forget how to wrestle, and it's just baffling to me. I think Logan Paul is going to end up giving Sami Zayn a stunner, and hopefully Sami Zayn is going to move on to better things in the future. I think Kevin Owens is going to win this. And look, at least if it's a terrible match, we know Logan Paul is going to be happy because he loves performing with a dead crowd in the background.
Wow.
And we go to Nick.
Yeah, again, I think it's a bit of a recurring theme on this podcast with Sami Zayn. That every time he's on a pay-per-view, we all say, I really hope he's going to get given time, and he never does. This could steal the show. Again, it's probably not going to. It's probably going to be a stupid Kevin Owens chasing him around the ring for a bit. Logan Paul gets involved and KO wins. I'm like Pete. I actually really like Sami Zayn's character. The whole thing of him dancing to Logan Paul's entrance last week, I've just spent a lot of time watching different versions of that with music dubbed on top of it. It's been brilliant. I'm going to go with Kevin Owens. Yeah.
I think I broke.
I'll just go ahead while Jose's
Go.
having
I am
an
listening.
issue in the top left over there. Yeah, I guess on a part with everything everybody said. If Sami Zayn gets time, they're gonna put on a great match. If he doesn't and he runs around like a chicken the entire time, they're not gonna put on a great match. Logan Paul is gonna get involved in some way. Apparently, people at least younger than my age give a shit about Logan Paul. I don't even really know or care who he is, but apparently people give a shit about him. So maybe they'll get some more eyes to to the product. I don't know. He's just some guy. I don't know. The guy.
He's a big time
He's
YouTuber.
He's a huge time
I'll
YouTuber,
go in
right?
for a boxing match with KSI. That's the reason I know him.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
You're picking Kevin Owens.
I'm picking Kevin Owens. Logan Paul's gonna hit him with a punch or a stunner, or like you said, or some sort of chair or something. Like, I don't know. Kevin Owens wins. Who won their payback match back in the day?
I thought it was
Sammy won, right? Yeah.
Well, no, Sami won at
Yeah,
Battleground.
That's it.
Oh yeah,
Payback,
Battleground.
not
He hit
payback.
the haluva kick, caught him, put him back up in the corner, and hit it again.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin's getting his win back.
Yeah, I mean, for those that know, obviously Logan Paul is a huge YouTube star. He ran into an extremely controversial moment when he was in Japan. I don't want to go any further because it actually was legitimately disturbing. But Pete with that joke, and I completely lost it, so I apologize. But yes,
I just got that joke.
There you go. He's known to be very. He's an extremely controversial dude. Currently, right now, he's been exploding in the Pokemon trading card game market, which he destroyed. Thank you, because I also very care much about that, and he just completely destroyed it off the rails. But anyways, yes, he's going to be involved in some shape or form, and you guys are all probably right. He's probably going to give like the stunner of a lifetime. Let's move on to the next match, and this one, I guess this is one of the rare few matches that has long-term storytelling, long-term booking. A very charred up and burnt up Fiend returns to take on Randy Orton, and of course, you can date this back to WrestleMania 33 with Wyatt versus Orton, but they've been feuding in the to close out 2020, and of course, who can forget at WWE TLC in December when Randy Orton legitimately set the Fiend on fire. I'm speaking in kayfabe, ladies and gentlemen, but yes, he set him on fire, which we were wondering, is Randy really gonna do it? And yeah, he set up a full out he set somebody on fire, which was actually a hilarious sight in hindsight. So here we are now. The Fiend made his return at Fastlane as this completely disfigured, burnt out character, which I have to give props to WWE's makeup department. That looks legitimately horrifying, especially with the lighting, with the scenarios that they presented on Fastlane and on SmackDown, or sorry, Raw. That's something I do not want to see before I go to sleep. Because again, it looked extremely horrifying. But again, that's just me. I'm gonna pick the Fiend as well. Just probably gonna get probably get revenge after being set on fire. Nobody likes to be set on fire. I personally would not like to be set on fire. Don't know about the rest of you guys, but I'm going to presume the same thing. There's not much else to say on this. I'm pretty sure I covered everything else. I don't know what else you guys could possibly add on to that, but I'm going to say the Fiend. RJ.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way the Fiend loses this match, so I'm going with the Fiend as well. Their feud's been weird, to say the least, with all this black goo that comes out of everybody's mouth now, and the Fiend hasn't been around, and Alexis had to kind of carry his end of the feud. So I don't have a whole lot to say about that. I'm not super high on this match at all. I kind of wish they were doing a Firefly Funhouse style match like last year. I think that would go over a lot better. The Fiend's gonna win. I don't care much for it though.
Nick.
I've actually quite liked the feud. The only thing that I've not liked is them doing the same thing over and over again. Like they did the Black Goo thing sort of 3 weeks in a row. They did Alexa just sort of appearing and distracting Randy in matches over and over again. I just think they'd lost a bit of creativity with it. I wish they'd held out to sort of, I know they have to sort of build it up, but I wish they'd held out to see the new Fiend for Mania. They could have just teased him up for a little bit and then brought him back in Mania. Again, it should have been, I think a Firefly Funhouse match would have been fantastic. Obviously, he's got so much history with Randy Orton. They could have gone back through the whole evolution phase and all that build up. But I think the reason they've probably done a normal match is because of the live crowd. The last time they did a cinematic match together was the House of Horrors, and that was terrible in front of a live crowd. It didn't go down very well.
Nope.
I'm gonna go with the Fiend, and then I think they'll move on from here. Just yeah.
You kind of bring up a good point. Kind of like tease them like the Undertaker at WrestleMania 20, all the crazy mind games and all the games, and then the big reveal, which was one of the more epic WrestleMania comebacks of all time. And I don't know if the Fiend would have surmounted to the level of the Undertaker and how amazing that comeback was, but definitely an avenue I kind of wish they explored. Now that you bring it up. Good champion.
I think with that, the problem is the reason back then it worked really well because the internet wasn't such a big thing in 2004, whereas this time we all knew he was coming back. I think that's probably why they brought him back at Fastlane.
When I was a young kid watching that, I was genuinely worked. Like, oh, Taker's not coming back at all. Like, and then shows up and Kane's terrified, and then I'm terrified. I'm like, oh, Kane's scared. I'm scared. It worked, and I think Nick makes a good point there.
And like I revealed when RJ and I were speaking a couple of weeks ago about our favorite WrestleManias, I switched the channel from the Undertaker match because there was a photo of Jesus Christ up on the wall in my friend's living room, and I didn't want to. I was so scared. I'm like, I cannot watch this. I am a child of God. But that was 10-year-old me. Yeah, that was
Vince McMahon beat God. It's fine.
What'd you say?
I said Vince McMahon beat God in the ring though. So
make your freaking pick. Forgot about that Backlash match. Yeah,
I feel like I'm not confident this is going to be great, and I think the build is going to depend on the payoff, like how good this build is. See, if this match is terrible, I feel like this build's going to get looked back on as a bad build, and if this match is great, the build's going to get looked back on as a good build. It's one of those weird situations where I think the payoff is very important to how well this story gets looked back on. For the people who are really crapping on this, though, my only thing is at least they've tried something with this match. Yeah. They've tried to do an interesting feud. It's dragged a little at times, but in terms of some of the rest of the stuff going on, this is like at least it's interesting. That's the best I can say. I would have also preferred they'd done like a Firefly Funhouse match because I think it needs it. Unfortunately, with the Fiend, I've like not a swamp match like they did, but an almost like retrospective look at Randy Orton the same way they did it with John Cena, that type of thing. Because Nick brings up the House of Horrors match, which was a terrible taped thing. I also bring up the Mania match last time when they tried to do creepy stuff in the ring, and it was abysmal. And they just put some bugs on the canvas, because that's apparently scary. And maybe I'm also the only person who actually thinks the old Fiend looks scarier than the new one. I don't know. Maybe I am the only one. Maybe I just don't like clowns. Who knows? It's but yeah, I'm going the Fiend as well. He kind of has to win but I'm really, really not confident based on when they tried to do a spooky Mania match before between these two. And it. Also, Randy Orton is batshit crazy for not running away from this. Someone telekinetically tried to drop like lighting rigs on him. And this guy's like, oh, yeah, I'll just stick around. I'll keep this going. They're throwing fireballs at you, telekinetically magicking things out you. A burnt guy's come back from the dead to kill you. And you're like, yeah, I've seen it before. It's no big deal. Get the fuck out of there, man.
You bring up a good point about like how in hindsight, I'm kind of amazed that they're still continuing a feud that has a history of like a lot of bad moments, right? It's like, damn, man, you guys are really trying to push us. We were not impressed the first time around, but let's see what happens this time. And I do think that there is a lot of pressure because there's probably going to be some weird elements. It's not going to be a normal match because the Fiend it's really rare to see the Fiend like that anyways. I mean, he hasn't like in terms of like in-person matches, has it been that strong? Not really.
Randy and Bray have always had really good stories between them, though. Like they had the whole thing when he joined the Wyatt family.
And again, like Pete said, I mean, like it depends on what the payoff is going to be, and I don't. Yeah. It's hard to say because again,
the only way this can be a normal match for me is if it's a squash match, and he does the same thing he did to Finn Balor when he debuted.
You have to.
He literally just goes through him in 2 minutes.
You have to. Which sucks because Randy Orton is technically one of those bigger names that you don't want to see. But
yeah, but that's why you want to do that because then that has a bigger effect of squashing a big name. It suddenly gives him all that momentum back of, oh God, this guy is such a big deal. He just killed Randy Orton instantly.
I think the thing is he has to win. He set him on fire and he survived. If he beats him with an RKO at WrestleMania, how fucking stupid does that look?
RKO is more powerful than fire.
What's the most dangerous 3 letters in sports entertainment?
True.
DDT. That's 2 letters. Crap. Lex, let's go with you.
Oh yeah.
Lex, we've all picked the Fiend. Are you gonna go with the Fiend?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Fiend.
All right, there we go.
Wow, you guys stole all my time.
Sorry.
I mean, yeah, like
it's like, a big card, buddy.
Like you said, like it's good on them for trying to do a long-term build. At times it did feel a little, slow. Like it never felt like Randy Orton had ever really like come out of that feud. Like he's been in it since it started. And at least with the Undertaker thing, or he was doing other stuff in the meantime. Whereas Randy Orton hasn't been doing much of anything besides like being chased and by 10-year-old Alexa Bliss and whatever else. So it has felt like it's dragged a bit, and they've sort of ran out of ideas kind of early. But I'm curious what kind of match it's going to be, because they can't do all the same pre-taped kind of stuff they've been doing in the past, whether it's Firefly Funhouse match or fireballs and lighting grids falling and things like that. So if it's a repeat of the Mania 33 match, I don't think anyone's going to be too happy about that. It's definitely not going to be a match for everyone. People who prefer the more wrestling matches that don't involve supernatural things happening. I'm sure not everyone's going to enjoy that, but it's WrestleMania. I'm sure they'll find a way to smoke and mirrors it, make it something of a spectacle, I hope. But yeah, I fully expect the Fiend to win after he got burned alive. And where we go from there with any of them, I guess we'll see. But yeah, it's going to be the Fiend.
I just realised, Firefly Funhouse aside last year, Bray Wyatt has never won a WrestleMania match, has he?
Nope.
He's lost to Cena at 30, lost to Taker at 31. He wasn't involved in 32. Lost to Randy Orton at 33, 34.
Battle Royal. He was in the Battle Royal to help Hardy.
Yeah. But he wasn't in it. He showed up during it.
He showed up to help Matt Hardy win it.
Yeah. Right, and then he wasn't involved in 35, and then Bray Wyatt doesn't have the best history. Let's move on. Okay, we're gonna move on to the women's the women's tag team turmoil. If y'all remember don't remember your picks, I'll remind you in a minute. But what I said in episode 50 part 1 was that we can aim for a maximum of 3 points here if you get that match and this match right. So obviously, just as a reminder, if you guys forgot, I picked Lana and Naomi. RJ and Pete picked Billie Kay and mystery opponent, which is exciting. Ooh. And then Lex, Wolf, and Nick round up with Lana and Naomi. So the question is, does Shayna and Nia beat the team that you picked? There shouldn't be too much time on this because we already emphasized it in the first part. But again, what more is there to say in general? But I am going to stick with my night one pick, and I'm going to say Lana and Naomi somehow in some way. I don't know how it'll exactly will win the women's tag team titles. How? Again, like I said, I have no clue. This is WWE. We've seen some crazier things, like a wedding. But that's my pick with them. Lex, again, very quick because again, there's not much else to say on this. You picked Lana and Naomi. Who were you going with?
I'm going with Shayna and Nia to win.
You're going with Shayna and Nia.
Yeah, there's been they've with the run they've had. There's really no other team, even in the turmoil match or outside of it, that I could see having the storyline set up to beat them and then their reign of terror. So as much as stale as it's gotten, but then being on every single show, I think they're still going to keep the belts at Mania.
Pete, you picked Billie Kay and mystery opponent.
Yeah, I'm going with Shania to win for this match.
You going with
I'm just hedging my bets. At least I know they're in the match. That's my only logic here. Otherwise, I'm completely gambling. I know they're at least going to be in the match, which is weird considering I picked someone who's definitely good potential, not in the first match. But if any of the other four teams could win that first match, so I know Shayna and Nia are going to be in there, so at least they've got a chance, no matter who wins that first match.
So you're going with Nia and Shayna. Nick.
Yeah.
Nick, you picked Lana and Naomi.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Shayna and Nia as well.
Okay.
I just can't see them having Lana win 2 matches over WrestleMania weekend. I said I can't. I could see it. It's WWE. They might.
Oh, please no.
But I hope not. But yeah, I'm going to go with Nia and Shayna. I think they're the only sort of one out of those 5 teams that realistically can win.
And RJ.
Yeah, I'm going with Nia and Shayna too. If I'm wrong and Lana and Naomi win on night one, then I could maybe see a glimmer of potential of them winning, but I'm just going with Nia and Shayna. Kind of hedging my bet like Pete.
So right now, myself and Wolf and myself just are sticking with our night one picks. It's probably a bad idea, but you know what? It's WrestleMania. We go all out. Let's move on to.
That's AEW.
Sorry?
All out AEW.
All right. So as we move on, this match, I don't know what to make of it, and I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but for the first time in WWE history, not just WrestleMania history, we have a Nigerian drum fight for the Intercontinental Championship. Big E champion taking on newly refound his identity, Apollo Crews. I think that's the safest way to say it. In a Nigerian drum fight. What is a Nigerian drum fight? As you, the listeners, as you, the watchers, are wondering, what is a Nigerian drum fight? Well, who the fuck knows? But apparently, it's anything goes, no disqualification, none of jazz, false count anywhere, I believe. Is that right, guys? Did I get that?
It's a hardcore match.
It's
a street fight with drums. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's a hardcore match, and there's going to be
someone going to
stuff around the ring somewhere.
Okay, so that is your Nigerian drum fight presented by Under the Middle Rope and the 5 gentlemen here on the panel. I am going to, I'm just going to say Big E to retain because I don't know. I just don't know. There's been a lot of crazy stipulations in the past. WWE is not shy from suddenly coming up with a random gimmick. Comes out of nowhere, like a "This Is Your Life" match. I think that's what that was called with Alexa and Bailey. But I'm gonna go with Big E to retain again. I know a lot of people wanted him to win the Royal Rumble. They can't forget that, and a lot of people wanted him to be in the main event for night 2 with the Universal Championship. It didn't happen, but he does have the Intercontinental Championship, so I think he's properly now on his way, deservedly known single star, or at least I think he's almost gotten over the hump of being known as a tag team guy. But I'm going to pick Big E because I just like Big E. He's a fun, energetic character, lovable as well. RJ.
Yeah, I think Big E's got to win this match. I think they're trying their best to make Apollo look like a very credible opponent for him to beat. But I do think that this is definitely Big E. They have to keep this reign going. As you said, I think he's doing a solid job of kind of getting out of that tag team hump, but I think he's still got more work to do before he loses his belt and kind of moves on to anything bigger than this. So I think Big E's definitely winning this match and then finishing this feud once and for all. And then we might never see Apollo again.
I mean, I hope not, but it's not wrong. I mean, for example, where's Aleister Black? Y'all remember who Aleister Black is?
Who?
Exactly. Nick.
Yeah, thrown off the roof. Money in the Bank.
Oh, yeah, he died.
Nick.
I've actually quite liked the character change of Apollo Crews. It took a bit of getting used to with the accent. That doesn't bother me so much. Him carrying the spear to the ring is a bit weird. As long as it's only sort of for an entrance, I don't mind it so much. This one's pretty easy for me. Apollo Crews has already lost his last 6 Intercontinental Championship matches. So by that theory, he's going to lose again because Big E's going to retain.
Oh, all right. I was about to copy the wrong phrase here. Oh, so you're going with Big E.
I'm going with Big E.
All right, Pete.
See, Nick's logic's kind of flawed because although Apollo Crews has lost his last 6 IC title matches, Big E is 0-6 at WrestleMania. So always have to bear that one in mind.
Something's got to give here.
And Apollo Crews did pin the champion, which means he has an advantage.
Yeah, exactly. So get all those things in there. I actually also like Apollo Crews' character. I liked it, but unfortunately, WWE being WWE, take a nice character change and try to remove all subtlety from it, and basically give him a spear and give him bodyguards and have a Nigerian drum fight instead of just a street fight where you can do this anyway. Like, also, if this guy's carrying a spear down to the ring and it's a no DQ, anything goes match, can we at least see him throw the spear? Obviously a miss. I'm not saying to hit him, but maybe Big E's at the top of the ramp and you throw the spear and Big E's obviously way on the ground early and it just goes into the LED board at the back. That's kind of what I want to see now. Because if you put all this effort into giving him a spear,
that's gonna offend.
Use the spear.
Use the spear. At least use it.
I just want to point out you bring up throwing in the spear, right? Which again, it's a hilarious image. But if Apollo Crews botches a throw and it goes left or right,
it'll be blunt anyway. It's fine.
I'm sure it's not a sharp spear.
It's still gonna hurt.
It'll give you a bruise, but Brock Lesnar's throwing the money in the bank briefcase the length of the ramp. That'll bruise just as much if it hits
I'm just saying I don't want a fan hurt. If fans are back for the first time in a year.
You have a wide ramp. If you throw it straight down the ramp, you are really bad at throwing things, and you've actually disrespected your own heritage if you can't throw a spear.
Hey, man.
Throw a spear straight.
Hey, man. Hey, look. For example, RJ and I are baseball fans. You would think it's easy to throw a baseball. It is. People have botched that throw for some odd reason. So it's not. It's not impossible.
It's a huge botch to throw something straight and throw it left.
I'm not saying.
Do it backstage then. Do it when there isn't the fans around. Go backstage and throw a spear. I just want to see him throw a spear. But I am going Big E because they need to give him a win. He's the champion. And he needs a bloody WrestleMania win by this point. And if you want to establish him as a single star, give him a WrestleMania singles win. It's the obvious thing to do. So yeah, Big E. But give Apollo Crews a spear and let him throw it.
And Lex.
Yeah, I've been enjoying this feud. I think it's really helped Big E come into his own as a fired up, serious babyface when he has to be one, and Apollo Crews being kind of an egotistical, arrogant heel. Character change aside, I think they've both been doing very well with it. They've had some good matches. I mean, except for the one that there's the one that happened at Fastlane that ended weirdly, but of course, like you guys said, WWE takes it too far sometimes. Makes it a little too goofy, but I'm sure it'll still be a fine match. But I'm gonna go with Big E to retain. Apollo Crews, he's been doing really good, but I think it's more important to keep Big E. When you went so far as to break up the New Day to make Big E a single star, you really have to commit to it. I feel like so. I think it's more important right now that Big E continues the run that he's on than Apollo Crews win the belt this time. I think his time will come another day, but I think Big E wins this one.
All right, so once again, like a few matches in night one, Wolf stands alone with Apollo Crews, so that'll be very interesting to see. I'm kind of
the biggest Big E fan out of all of us.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he was
the title.
Wolf. I'm pretty sure was put in our group chat was pushing hard for Big E to win the Royal Rumble, And now here we are at WrestleMania, and he goes the wrong way. All right, that's fine by me. The second last match, which again should be a high profile match. It again build 3 weeks tops. It is Asuka versus a main roster debuting Rhea Ripley, who, by the way, Rhea Ripley will have her entrance performed at WrestleMania. I forget the name of the band, but she will have her theme song sung by the band that performs it. So that's going to be pretty exciting. And which we actually dug up a stat earlier today that since as of WrestleMania 35, 73% of superstars who had a band perform their entrance at WrestleMania have lost, which is and actually they're on bands and superstars coming out with bands are on a 6 WrestleMania losing streak. I believe the last 6 WrestleManias have all resulted in losses when somebody comes out via a live performance. So I don't know. That's just a fun little WrestleMania stat there. Asuka, Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship. I'm saying that the losing streak ends. Rhea Ripley to establish herself as a big dominant presence on Monday Night Raw will win the Raw Women's Championship. And frankly, I mean, Asuka, I think it's just time. And I know a lot of people were not happy when Rhea dropped the belt to Charlotte at last year's WrestleMania. And Charlotte had that weird run with the NXT Women's Championship. So I'm hoping that she gets somewhat redeemed and she takes it and she stands tall at Raymond James Stadium. Alex.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a huge Rhea Ripley fan for a while. I thought she was a perfect heel on NXT UK. You know, she was a truly detestable heel. Then she shows up on NXT US, becomes this huge babyface star. She gets this huge win over Shayna Baszler, finally ending her reign of terror, and then loses the belt like a month later to Charlotte. So that was. And has not been the same since. So I am absolutely pulling for Rhea Ripley to win this at WrestleMania. There was thoughts that maybe it could be her and Charlotte, and she could redeem her loss to Charlotte, but because of other circumstances that didn't happen. But this will still be a great match, I'm sure. As much as I love Asuka, WWE has clearly shown they are not committed to keeping her a strong, champion or just a strong single star in general as much as NXT was. So I think it's kind of a shoe-in that she loses. Through no fault of her own, this title reign since Becky Lynch left to have a baby and hand the belt off to her has been kind of cursed. She had the one good feud with Sasha and Bayley, but since then, her challengers have either gotten injured or have gotten pregnant or have gotten sick or have gotten fired or just there's all of her potential challengers have all just gone down in some sense, some way. So I think as much as I love Asuka, she had a good run. She wasn't really given the chance to have too many big matches with the title for various reasons, but I think it's her time to drop the belt to Rhea Ripley, let her go on this big winning streak or this big, dominant run. Maybe Charlotte comes back and they had their rematch and Rhea finally beats her. But yeah, tonight I think hopefully she'll break that statistic of live music entrances being jinxed somehow and come out the winner.
Pete,
I'm going for Asuka.
Okay,
I think Asuka's going to win this. I think this has been built badly again. I think Rhea Ripley just turning up and asking for a match and getting it was stupid. She should have just debuted a few weeks earlier, run ragged over the women's division, then earned the match, and I'd have had a bit more faith. I think this has been thrown together last minute. I don't think Vince McMahon understands Rhea Ripley or any of the creative team because they've turned her heel at the last minute because random reasons. I'm not saying she's not a good heel, but just to get that dynamic, they basically made her heel at the last second, and none of her character from NXT has really rolled over to the main roster in these few appearances. She's just come out after, which gives me very little faith and reminds me of Shayna Baszler last year. So, yeah. So I'm expecting maybe something similar. I'm expecting Asuka to get a win somehow. Rhea Ripley try to get a heat back, do a post-match beatdown, and then Becky Lynch is going to come in and make a save. And that's going to be the WrestleMania moment. Unfortunately, I just do not have faith in them to use some. I hope I'm wrong, but nothing in this build has suggested to me that the roster knows how to use Rhea Ripley as they should use Rhea Ripley. How she did in the Royal Rumble. So I don't like it. I'm not happy with it, but I think because she turned heel at the last second, it's thrown me completely off. I've changed because I was going with Rhea Ripley before then. But because of that, I'm going Asuka, and I have a feeling this is when Becky Lynch makes a return to save Asuka after Rhea Ripley tries to do a post-match beatdown to get a heat back.
I did not think of Becky at all. I just don't think. But I've never seen Becky as somebody who's going to come back like soon. I still think it'll be a long time. But I mean,
She doesn't need to actually come back.
No,
properly.
I know.
It
I
might
get
just
that.
be
I get that. But just in
a
general,
one-off
any
appearance.
any one-off appearances, anything. I don't see it. I guess just for the protection of her baby with the pandemic and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I mean, crazy
I think
things.
there's just not a lot of big stars at this year's Mania, as in what WWE see as big stars. So they're going to want them couple of big moments in there just to go, hey, crowd, look, here's something really exciting for you. Please be happy. And I think that's just one of the ones that you can throw in, even if Becky Lynch does disappear for another 3 to 6 months afterwards. I'm not saying she won't, but a quick kind of run in, make a save makes sense with the Asuka stuff in the past as well.
Nick.
Yeah, I agree. This has been another one of those weird build ones. Obviously, I don't think this was probably the plan. It was either Asuka and Charlotte, or maybe a triple threat between the three of them before Charlotte had COVID, and then the whole sort of pregnancy situation that happened. Turning Rhea Ripley heel was really weird. I didn't even realize it even happened until someone had mentioned she put out a tweet, something along the lines of "Your opinions don't matter to me, peasants," or something like that. I don't understand it. She was obviously a really great babyface on NXT, and this is like Pete said. I don't think Vince really understands her character, and you have to have the heel versus babyface, because you can't do two babyfaces going against each other. I'm gonna go with Rhea Ripley anyway. I think the whole Becky Lynch thing could happen, but I think she might return later to challenge Rhea Ripley after she's won the title.
And RJ.
I'm going with Asuka. For part of I kind of agree with everybody a little bit, even though everybody picked different people. But I do agree with Pete that when they do turn somebody heel randomly last second, I feel like they lose the majority of the time. I've just seen it happen so much where they have face and face, they turn somebody heel, the face still wins. So I see Asuka winning. I really like both of them, but I really did want Rhea to win this match. But I am going to go with Asuka, and I do think Asuka could actually use a pretty high-level win herself, because I think her reign hasn't been as good as it possibly could be. Asuka, I don't think is taken as seriously as she could be on the main roster as her character, as a wrestler, or anything. So I think that she could also benefit from a big win, so I'm not too upset if Asuka wins this match, but I'm going with Asuka.
And I mean, let's face it. I mean, also Asuka has not had the best of WrestleMania successes. I mean, to this day, I'm still a little kind of shaken up at what happened at WrestleMania 34 against Charlotte, which and everybody. I mean, I remember just my jaw just dropping watching that live. Unbelievable, like staring in shock that Asuka tapped out to Charlotte. But all hail Queen Charlotte, who again is a name that she just got screwed over by the doctors, and she's not going to be on. And that's somehow also weird to say that Charlotte will not be on WrestleMania.
And I honestly think having her in this match would have made it better.
No. RJ, you had something?
I was going to say, if Asuka wins this match too, that could also set up Asuka and Charlotte, which seemed to be the match that they maybe wanted to do for this WrestleMania anyway, because that's the two people that have beaten Rhea Ripley, and then they go up against each other again. And I could just see that setting up for Charlotte to come back and facing Asuka again in the future. At
some shape or form, Charlotte will show up. The question is,
she's always coming back.
Everybody loves the Queen, but we move on now to obviously the last match that we need to talk about, and obviously the one I think we're all universally excited for. No pun intended when I say the word universal. It is the Universal Championship. Roman Reigns, Edge, the winner of the 2021 Men's Royal Rumble at number 1, and now Daniel Bryan, who has been added onto the mix. And I have to say, and I feel like we're all in agreement, that the memes of Daniel Bryan that have been circulating because he got added on have been hilarious, from UFC matches to past WrestleMania triple threats has seen Daniel Bryan included, to like it's the most like random thing, like the whole Steve Austin, Chris Jericho talk show, like the fact that they're going to like Chris Jericho's being on Broken Skull Sessions. They're like, oh, Daniel Bryan's going to be involved into the mix. There's been a lot of great stuff, and I absolutely love it. But yes, Daniel Bryan got added in. Daniel Bryan got in and all that, and I'm gonna make my pick. It's one I've been hoping for since day one. I'm going to say Edge because, man, I cannot go against one of my all-time favorites. And I mean, as much as I love Daniel Bryan, I really, really do love the guy. It makes me, I hate that he's involved in this. WWE had no choice but to include him in with the storyline that was happening, because of his involvement at Fastlane, and then after that, and then getting screwed over by Edge and screwed over by Roman. He had no choice but to include Daniel Bryan in there. I'm not, and yes, technically right now on paper, this does sound like the better match than just Roman versus Edge. I'm not going to deny that, but it just sucks at the end of the day because this is going to be Edge's first live with fans, first WrestleMania with fans in it since WrestleMania 27 in Atlanta. So I want that moment for him because of like what he's been through, desperate to try to get back to be cleared. And here he is now. And actually, I forgot who brought it up. Somebody brought it. It was RJ. RJ brought up to me that one of the better storylines you could have included with these three is that each of these three at one point were wondering if they were going to wrestle again. Edge with the neck injury, Daniel Bryan with the concussions, Roman Reigns with the leukemia. The fact that these three men who thought they were never going to wrestle again have suddenly come back, that's pretty amazing. A great way to close out WrestleMania, which again I presume is going to close out WrestleMania. I'm going to start with Lex because he does have to go. So Lex, make your pick, and then we will say goodbye to you.
Yes, it's a difficult one. It's definitely a difficult pick. I could see any one of these three guys winning. But I was actually thinking it over, like as you were talking, like because I still hadn't decided at this point. But I think my gut tells me that the result that I would have happen is I'm going to go with Roman. I think it's not everyone's choice, but I think just me personally, like I think if Roman's title reign is going to end, it has to be him losing to someone, one-on-one. There can't be any asterisks in the corner like, oh, he lost because this happened or whatever. I think if Roman's going to lose that belt, I think, even if he's not involved in the decision, I still think he needs to lose, clean to a baby face, whether it's Daniel Bryan or whether it's anybody else. That's the way that Roman's current run needs to end. I feel like having him lose in this situation, like it would work. I wouldn't be too upset about it if it did happen, whether it's Bryan or Edge. But I think with the way things are going, I think the best choice from a business sense in my mind is to have Roman retain and then go on to lose it at a different time against a single opponent instead of a triple threat. So that's what I'm going to go with.
All right. So that's interesting because I haven't heard too many people that say for Roman to retain. I mean, it could be different for the next three picks. But Lex, this is where we'll say goodbye to you because like I said,
thanks,
you need
guys.
to go. Thanks for
Appreciate
coming,
it.
Lex. We'll chat when we can. Enjoy your night.
Peace.
We'll talk soon. Thank God he's gone. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's always great to have Lex around. Pete, let's go with you.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. All three of these people can win this match, and I'm not going to be hugely gutted if any of them do. It's what I hate is fans who are crapping on this match because it's not Edge. I wanted Edge versus Roman, and you added Daniel Bryan, or I wanted Edge versus Daniel Bryan, and you didn't give me that, or I wanted Daniel Bryan versus Roman, and you didn't give me that. I wanted Daniel Bryan to win the Rumble, etc. I did. I wanted Daniel Bryan to win the Rumble. I wanted Bryan versus Roman at WrestleMania. That was my one. That's not what you're getting. But what you're getting is a beautifully told story for this triple threat. That's the match they went with. I don't care which one you would have preferred in general. And the amount of criticism I see of this, how dare you book this match? No, this story has been phenomenal. Like I've been really probably overly negative, perhaps even in like this episode and the last episode, like part one. But this is why I still watch wrestling. And it's when I get a storyline like this, where everybody's motives in this match makes perfect sense. You got Edge as like basically this was his moment, and Daniel Bryan's trying to take it away, and this kind of idea in his head that this is what the fans still wanted, and he should be the face, so he actually goes fully heel on that. Love that. Roman Reigns scheme pissed off that he has to fight two of them now. Makes perfect sense. Daniel Bryan getting the tap out at Fastlane, like the visual victory, but not seeing it, makes sense for him to be in it. They've booked this beautifully. I love this storyline, and it's the only match, in my opinion, on this entire Mania card that has had a Mania-worthy build, where I look at it and think historically, etc. But like fans, it's too spoiled in a way of you always get what you want. Back in like WrestleMania 17, I wanted Kane to win that Royal Rumble. And we wouldn't have got Rock versus Austin at 17. We wouldn't have had it if I got what I wanted. But that storyline was fantastic. The ending was fantastic. The match was fantastic, and it moved on great. That's what I've got here. I wanted Daniel Bryan to win it. And if you go back to the first podcast episode at the start of this year, when we made what we think is going to happen in 2021, the first thing I said is Daniel Bryan is going to win the title in the main event of WrestleMania. And that's why I'm going for Roman Reigns.
You're picking Roman?
I'm going for Roman Reigns.
Wow.
So I could be right either way. Either I was right in that one or I'm right here.
Or Edge wins.
Or Edge wins.
Shut up. Honestly, like I said, all three of these can win. But I do think Roman is still a logical choice. And then we go into an Edge versus Bryan feud after Mania. Of just the two of them without the title on the line. And I kind of agree with Lex in the way of when Roman does lose, I want it as someone get a massive push of they beat Roman one-on-one properly. No like shenanigans, nothing else. And I can kind of see like Bryan and Edge trying to outdo each other and then Roman just coming in, spear, win.
Being super Roman.
And that's a good thing for me. And I think WWE for once want Roman to win in the main event of WrestleMania and the fans not shit on it. So in their eyes, it's finally a chance for Roman to be the headliner they want, even if it's as a heel, winning it. And someone can get some happy moment back post match or whatever you want to do. But I think it's the right decision is to keep it on Roman, even though I will be over the moon because I'm Daniel Bryan to win. I'll be over the moon if he wins it. I won't be upset if Edge wins. I've got nothing against that outcome. But that's the decision I think is right. And so that's why I go Roman.
I mean, I was one of the persons that said, like, okay, I want Edge to pick Drew. I want Edge and Drew because I want Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Again, not that I'm opposed to Daniel Bryan being added in because obviously, again, I wanted just Roman and Edge just for Edge's story. But I just think that if to satisfy everybody, in my opinion, I think that the best decision would have been Edge takes on Drew. Get that story going because it probably would have been just as good of a match, and then have Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns because even before the Royal Rumble, Daniel Bryan was involved with Roman Reigns in some shape or form, and so the thoughts that are coming in, they started to steamroll. Okay, is Daniel Bryan going to be involved with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? And then when Edge comes into the picture, it's like, wait a minute, what about Daniel Bryan? Where the hell is Daniel Bryan? And then when they finally started to put the seats, it's like, okay, there's Daniel Bryan. You cannot do this to him at Fastlane and then not put him in at WrestleMania. Here we are.
Yeah,
here we are. So
this is the match they wanted. This is the story they built, and they built that match phenomenally. And that's all. And
let's face it, WWE like triple threat matches for the world for a world title at WrestleMania are normally knock it out of the park. They're normally fantastic. We're normally all on the edge of our season. They both had some very good feel good endings at WrestleMania 20 and at WrestleMania 30. What's going to happen at 37? Sorry.
I'm 35.
Oh, right, 35. I'm wearing the jersey. Nick?
Yeah, I think Pete's pretty much said everything we can say about this. This has been a fantastic feud. Really great build. I was fine with Roman and Edge once Edge won the Rumble. But I think as soon as Bryan got involved, if you hadn't have added Bryan into that, it would have probably made people lose interest a little bit more because it was such a good story. You couldn't just exclude him for no reason at all. It's really difficult because, like I said, any one of these three could win, but I can't go against Edge. He's my man. I really hope he wins. I'll be fine if Bryan wins. I'll be fine if Roman wins. And I do agree with Lex and Pete's point about Roman losing the title. I think the best way to go about it is him sort of losing it one-on-one to someone. But I'm not going to go against Edge in this situation. I'm going to go with Edge to win the title here.
And last but not least, the man who wanted Daniel Bryan in big time. He's like, there's no, like most of my words. I was just copying off what RJ was telling me privately as the months went on. That you cannot not include Daniel Bryan. The man who wanted Daniel Bryan in the most, he got it. RJ, where are you going with?
Well, that's the thing, right? Is they bucked themselves into a corner. Like they had to put Daniel Bryan into the match. Like they after with the Fastlane story, with the Elimination Chamber story, they had to put him in the match. If they didn't want him in the match, they should have just had Roman win the Elimination Chamber, and then it would have been over with. But they didn't do that, and then they backed themselves into a corner. And then here's Daniel Bryan. I actually think Daniel Bryan is the only one here who can't win. I don't think Daniel Bryan is going to win this match. I don't think there's a chance he wins. Wow. I would love to see him win. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they could definitely keep the title on Roman because I don't think either of these people is actually the right person to beat Roman Reigns. I don't know if this character the entire time ever since he's won the belt, I just didn't see it leading up to him losing to either Edge or Roman. I thought maybe The Rock way down the line could wrestle him with this whole head of the table thing. I thought maybe Jey Uso could be the one who actually beat him at some point in time. I still think that could be the case. Or I could see Jey actually screwing him over in this match this weekend finally, and then maybe going on to feud afterwards as well. Not sure how they do it, but I think Edge is going to get the belt at the end of this one. And I have Edge winning this match. I think that Edge could win, maybe do a post-match beatdown on Bryan after he kind of steals it from him at the end of it. I don't see Roman taking the fall. I see Daniel Bryan taking the fall because then Roman kind of keeps his streak sort of, I'm not losing alive, whereas I never actually lost the belt. So he didn't actually lose it to him. He could win it back again or kind of keep the aura of he doesn't lose anymore alive because Bryan's the one really taking the fall. So Edge is going to win the match. And then Edge and Bryan can kind of feud after WrestleMania. And then Roman can feud with maybe somebody else.
See,
Seth or whoever.
See, what I was saying from day one when Roman started this head of the table character and when he had that big heel turn after SummerSlam on Payback, I said that no matter what happens, no matter what the journey is the journey that we're gonna get between that moment and this weekend, Roman will lose the title. I was saying it from day one that Roman, the time to dethrone Roman, if they're going to, is WrestleMania. And I was talking with people, they're like, no,
38.
No, not WrestleMania. I remember WrestleMania 37. That could be possible. WrestleMania 37. And I was saying that, yes, it's just a perfect time because WrestleMania always wants to have those big closing moments with the pyro and whatnot, right? I mean, and normally the close out of WrestleMania is like one of the bigger faces or one of like the bigger face. I'm gonna say bigger faces gets that win from the heel. And obviously I think it's between Daniel Bryan and now it gets a tweener Edge, but I'm going to stick with my pick. And gentlemen, that'll wrap up our what?
He's heel now, isn't he?
Yeah, I guess. That's
my only other thing is I don't think Edge versus Roman can be the post-Mania feud because of how they've turned the alignments. So that's why I'm kind of a bit off on Edge winning, I guess, because I don't know how you're going to Edge versus Roman from there.
It's interesting how we've all said either three can win and no one's gone for Bryan.
Did Wolf go for Bryan? Who did Wolf go for?
He's got
Wolf went with Edge.
All right, fair
no one's gone Bryan.
I don't think Bryan's winning this match. I want him to win this match. But
look. I'm picking Edge, but my gut, there is a small feeling that says that Daniel Bryan wins this. But again, I don't know. It's so up in the air.
I also
Bryan
agree because he has to beat Roman.
Yeah, I also kind of agree because you want, as you said, you want to send off Mania with a face win a lot of the time, and he's the face in the match. Whether some fans agree with that or not, that's interpretation. But by the de facto thing, he is the face and the other two are heels. So
someone said to me, if Roman loses, he could always, because they tend to do a post-Mania shake-up, he could go to Raw. Roman, if he loses the title.
No, don't do it.
No?
Don't. I've seen how people just don't get rid of him.
Yeah, but remember this, SmackDown was terrible until Roman came back.
True.
Maybe he could do the same thing for Raw.
On that note, gentlemen and everybody, that we'll wrap up our WrestleMania 37 predictions. And again, we when we start these, we don't expect to go as long as we did. The fact we had to split into 2 episodes again. I mean, none of us, including me, did not say, "Oh, we're gonna go 2 hours." No, we didn't. But here we are, split up into 2 nights, 2 episodes, and of course, it's going to be an exciting weekend nonetheless. So I'm pumped. I'm sure everybody else is pumped. It's my favorite time of the year. But for now, we're going to put a bow on this. And as always, let's get to the closing.
Goodbye.
You made it to the end of both episodes. You made it to the end. Oh my goodness. Again, these are long, but I'm going to go through this one more time. Here we go. For night 1, everybody went with Bad Bunny and Damian Priest across the board. Myself, Alex, and Wolf picked Shane McMahon. Everybody else picked Braun. Everybody but Wolf picked Cesaro. It's 4-2 for Lana and Naomi as Pete and RJ went with Billy Kane, a mystery partner. Everybody except Wolf picked AJ Styles and Omos. Everybody except for me picked Drew McIntyre as I picked Bobby Lashley. And then everybody but Wolf picked Bianca Belair as he went with Sasha Banks. For night 2, Wolf and myself went with Sheamus. Everybody else went with Riddle. We all went with Kevin Owens across the board. We all went with The Fiend across the board. In terms of the winner of the Turmoil and the women's tag team match, everybody but myself and Wolf picked Nia Jax and Shayna, as we went with Lana and Naomi, which were our original picks from night one. For the Intercontinental Championship, everybody but Wolf picked Big E, as Wolf went with the Apollo Crews. For the Raw Women's Championship, Pete and RJ went with Asuka. Everybody else went with Rhea Ripley. And for the Universal Championship, Alex and Pete picked Roman Reigns. Everybody else picked Edge. Nobody picked Daniel Bryan, which is very surprising to say the least. And the one thing I forgot to ask the guys as we close off our discussion is our tiebreaker. I don't think there's going to be a tiebreaker, but we are going with the length of the Universal Championship. And here's what we got. I went with 24:30. RJ went with around 32 minutes. Nick went with 26:30. Pete, 30 minutes flat. Lex, 31:25. And Wolf went with 27:46. It is going to be a fun weekend. I'm positive. Yes, the build may not have been the strongest, of course, as we've stated in both episodes. But hey, you know what? Like I said, it's WrestleMania. It's my favorite time of the year, and I cannot wait. But for now, all I can say is just that. Thank you so much for watching. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, available wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe. I'm Jose Tabuada. Enjoy WrestleMania 37. We'll see you next week for the fallout. Have a good one. See ya.